Welcome to Beach Jam Media, your resource-driven oasis with your host, Jennifer Corbin-Carson. Join us each week as we dive into hot topics and essential materials for individuals and businesses. We invite you to get your feet wet and explore life's offerings. From insightful discussions to practical advice, we're here to navigate the tides of change together. Come join us for Beach Jam Media, where knowledge flows endlessly and where the currents of insight never stop. So come on, let's get our feet wet and explore what's waiting for us on the beach.
Good morning. I am glad y'all are with us. My name is Jennifer Corbin-Carson, and I am your host for Beach Jam Media. See, it says it right there. Keep forgetting about the right there. It says it right there. Anyways, I am a mom, a grandma, a wife, an entrepreneur, a business owner, a veteran. So I wear many different hats, and the hat that I wear today is for you to bring you resources for everyday life. And at Beach Jam Media, we bring forth the resources that you need to navigate the waves of change. So again, glad you're here with us today, and we have a great show. Stick with us. Hi, guys. Are you there?
Beach Jam Media is your resource-driven oasis, hosted by Jennifer Corbin-Carson. Each week, we dive into hot topics and essential resources for individuals, businesses, veterans, and their families. Join us for insightful discussions and practical advice as we navigate the tides of change together. At Beach Jam Media, knowledge flows endlessly and insights never stop. Contact us to be a part of our show at our email address, beachjammedia@gmail.com.
You've been watching Beach Jam Media with Jennifer Corbin-Carson. We invite you to jump back in and keep your feet wet with us as we continue to be your guide through the waves of change. Now let's dive back into the show.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys?
We're great. How are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Glad you guys could be with me here.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah. Today I wanted to go over community resources for people with disabilities, not just veterans, mainly the veteran resources, but people with disabilities. It's all special needs. If people have a disability, then they have special needs, right?
Absolutely.
So, and it's not just the VA that has all the resources and everything for disabled vets. It's community resources too, right?
Well, and I wanted to ask you, special needs could be mental, or it could be physical, or it could be both, right? So you have like 3 different
Yes.
stages? Okay.
Correct. Yep. And sorry, I was trying to close. Oh, wrong button.
At least it wasn't us, so it's all good.
Well, I was trying to close that little window and I forgot which one it was. So anyways, I got it. Sorry.
Live TV.
But yes, it can be mental or it can be physical, right? Or like with me and a lot of other veterans, they have invisible disabilities, right? So if somebody parks in a handicap spot that looks just fine when they walk into the store, don't criticize them because you don't know. They might have a heart condition that you can't see. They might have lupus. They might have fibromyalgia and they could hardly get out of bed in the morning. You don't know. They could have diabetes. Diabetes wreaks havoc on your body. So never underestimate or overestimate, I guess, what I'm trying to say. Somebody's abilities. right? Because you don't know. But anyway, so I was looking at, you all hear the commercials for Wounded Warrior Project, for disabled American veterans, but what about the other resources that people don't know about, right? Now, we all know the ADA, American Disabilities Act, right? You have to have a ramp or wheelchair access or something like that for disabled people. But what about people with like mental issues? What about the veterans that came back with PTSD? What about, those invisible disabilities that you can't see? So I put together a list. Do you guys, okay, so I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you guys on the spot.
Okay.
So do you know any um, disability resources in your area?
Well, we work with some companies that work with vocational rehab, which I think is certainly, it's a huge resource that goes underutilized and
Yes.
underacknowledged. And I think there's a misnomer that you have to have a big disability, for lack of a better term, something that you're in a wheelchair, or a big physical disability. Not necessarily, even anxiety qualifies for vocational rehab. Depression qualifies on a different sliding scale, of course, to be evaluated. But all of these fall into opportunities for paid programming where you can work in a situation to see if it's something for you. And the government pays the company, and the company then in fact pays the employee.
That's fantastic. And, people don't know about that.
They don't know. It's underutilized for sure.
Absolutely. And the government's paying for it. So why wouldn't you take advantage of it?
I
It's
think
kind of like
people,
this.
yeah, I think they don't know, and it can get complicated with paperwork. As you know, what you said about filing for the disability last week, we talked about the intent to file. Same thing with this is there's testing involved, and there's meetings, and there's appointments, and there's evaluations that sometimes I feel it makes you to feel less than in order to get the funding. So that's a whole emotional component in itself. If someone's identifying you've got this or you've got that, and they're labeling and labeling and labeling, you feel less than who you think you are. But that seems to be part of the process or the game to get the funding.
Right. Absolutely. And, unfortunately, I think it's gotten this far because this is my own personal opinion. I don't know anything about the process, but people take advantage of it. So I think they want to make sure that you are eligible for this and you're willing to work for it. It's not just a handout, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
You know other resources
So,
that we have?
I got to tell you, that resource came to us because of the program we have in play.
Correct.
But I did not know of any before that. And alluding back to what you just said, a lot of people self-diagnose, they don't think that they would qualify, and they don't let somebody else, a professional, make that determination. I think you helped the student
We've helped a few.
because the words were scrambled. What is that?
Dyslexia.
Dyslexia. And they tested her, and they found it. And she qualified for the program, and it changed her life. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for the program, she would not have graduated because it paid for books and everything else.
Paid for books, yeah. I paid for extra, tutoring and some books. It wasn't a full scholarship to college, but it offset some needed costs, which was helpful.
absolutely. And when you can get that, I mean, even just a little bit of help,
Yeah.
if you don't need the full blown program, if you get just the little bit of help that you need, it can make a world of difference.
You got to apply.
And
That's the bottom line. And what I like about your program is that you tell people apply, apply, apply. And you have to, a lot of people are afraid of the process, not the outcome. So they don't want to
Right.
apply because they already have put in their minds that they won't qualify, they're going to be rejected. It's a lot of work. I got to get up early in the morning. I got to go stand on the line. There's a lot I got to. And so they won't do the necessary things to help them because the system is not made to be easy because they want to make sure that you really believe that you do need help.
And then I'm even thinking about mortgage rates and loans, bank loans, things of that nature, as you would say, for veterans and their families, because right now the economy's really rough. We have an organization here that said they'd be willing to feed our crew. It's called Boca Helping Hands, and it's a food pantry, a food bank. And anyone's welcome, but they don't know. So they said, send your crew over. We'll give them lunch or dinner anytime. And that's available for anyone in need. But people looking to buy homes, you talked to me about 0%, and I don't know if people realize that exists. Because if you want to get into a home, rents are crazy, right? If you can find a home that you can afford, it's the down payment that's really complicated. But 0% down, I mean, yes, your mortgage is larger, but you're not coming up with $100,000 up front for a down payment.
Right. Right. And if you're disabled beyond a certain percentage, they waive that origination fee. So that's a big deal too.
I got to tell you, I used to be in the mortgage business. I was a banker in New York, and I did it for 17 years. In 17 years, I wrote 3 VA loans. 3. That's it.
That's it?
That's it. I was a mini ego. I wrote a lot of FHA loans, but the vets did not come out. And the funny thing about this is when I told the veterans that they qualify under a VA loan, they shied away from it. It's like they were afraid to do the VA loan because it was too good to be true. The stuff that the VA gave you with that, what is it, that 214,
The DD
the
214.
D214, you had to produce that because that shows that you verify you were in the military. But with that piece of paper opens up so many doors. So they would say, now, Freddie, I'll do the FHA. I'll go in that direction. And you know, with an FHA loan, you could back in the day, you could have done the down payment of $384
Wow.
because I did them. Now, the bubble burst in whatever it was, 2006, because of all of the weight on the loans. They just weren't classified, or they didn't maintain jobs, and everything busted internally. But the vets would not take the VA loan because they were afraid of it. They were afraid it was too good to be true. So I had to get them papers somehow. I mean, you're bringing back all of this stuff that occurred back in the day,
Right.
and what I went through to try. I'm convincing a veteran to take advantage of things that are meant for him or her.
And I think there's a lot of veteran-owned companies. I know here, there's moving companies that are veteran-owned. There's plumbing companies, and I think if we can get those resources out, it's great for the companies. And I think other everyday people who aren't vets want to support our vets if they know it's a veteran-owned company, right? You'd be more apt to support them because you want to give people that extra incentive that help. And then other families would be like, you know what? We've got something in common. Why not use them?
Absolutely. And that's what being a veteran, I love about being a veteran. It's not just, oh, it's black owned, it's Chinese owned, it's white, there's no labels other than veteran.
Right.
And those who went and decided to sign up and put their life on the line to protect this country and everybody in it, it doesn't matter your color of your skin.
True.
And that's what I love about being a veteran, because one of the things I like about being a veteran. But if you have a veteran-owned business, I do have something in common, with them. And yes, I will go to them before I go to somebody else if I know it's a veteran-owned business.
What if we put out a call to action for veteran-owned businesses to contact you to be a part of Beach Jam Media?
That would be fantastic. I would love that. We've had on this show, we've had David Vargas. He owns the Laser Works with an X. He's in Florida. We've had Jen and Philip Hoyle. They have a business. They're entrepreneurs, and they're veterans. Well, he's a veteran, Army veteran, and she's the spouse, which they serve as well. And I have plenty of friends that are veterans who have businesses, and it's a great resource when you can say, "Hey, here's the funnel. What do you have for this? What do you have for that?" And it's just yes, I would love that. We can put a spreadsheet together, and we
She's
can
so
even
funny.
put it up on the website.
She's
But
metrics and
but
spreadsheets. I'm
I
like, here's an idea. She's like, well, let's put it like
but I
this.
gotta tell you,
Yep.
we have a producer who is military. We got a couple in
Yeah.
here, but this one producer, she's logistics, and that's what she did. And she has organized things in the studio. So
Yes,
we
I
have
love her already.
well, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never had a Bible put together as to the procedures to do production in this studio. And we
Standard
were,
operating
we,
procedures.
no, and we were
We do
operating
now.
procedures. We have it now, and it's in a binder.
And it grows. And now we've got rules on
Yep.
coming into the studio, certain behaviors, certain things that are not
Yep.
allowed. And
And she
Yep.
remind
I
and
have.
she reminded me that in this business, having that sense, having somebody in the business that has that sense of logistics, just like you're saying, the spreadsheets. I can't express how important it is in this business to follow all of those pieces. Because when you have everything laid out correctly, in the military, they teach you all of this has to be done in a certain order so you don't blow yourself up, for instance, right? So what I love about it is the discipline, because I think that the kids coming out of school are book smart, very book smart and talented smart, but they don't understand the other side of it where you have to be on time. If you're on time, you're late, so you have to be a little earlier.
Right.
The military mentality of having logistics done, of having it done a certain way, I love it. I love that she talks about let's do this, because that's what gets things done. I'm not organized like that. My brother was. He was in the Navy, and he used to laugh at me. So when we worked in construction, he took me to school. He says, "This is the way we're going to attack this job site." And if it wasn't for him, I would still be at that job site today. I'm serious. It is so important and so valuable what a veteran understands in a problem. And I love that. I love that about the military.
Yeah, you have to, it's continuity too, right? So if she's not there, then somebody else can pick up the book and say, "Hey, okay, this is what we need to do."
Sure,
Right?
but
It's
nobody ever
just,
did. In 20 years, nobody ever did. Now until she came
right?
along, she says, "Well, why don't we put a book together to explain to people what they're supposed to do?" And she was
Yeah,
110% correct.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we have more resources other than the DAV, Disabled American Veterans, that you hear about all the time. I mentioned them earlier, and the Wounded Warrior Project. Those are great resources, and you see them advertised all the time. But what about your community resources? What about the veterans committees that are in your community? For example, Chamber of Commerce. I think we touched on this when David Vargas was on. He was part of the veterans committee for his Chamber of Commerce. We have one here too with our city, or the county Chamber of Commerce. But there's a veterans resource committee. Sorry, there's a veterans committee that's associated with the Chamber of Commerce. So look towards your Chamber of Commerce to see what veteran committees are around your area. I mean, they'll have a great resource for you, because they're in touch with all of those other resources. What? Okay, so another resource that I came up with is Project to Heal, and it's Project P2PGA. .org. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. And their mission is to have to provide service dogs for people.
That's
And
interesting.
I think they do more than veterans. I think they do. Now, I have to say something. All of these resources that I'm going to mention, I have no personal gain with them. And I just did a quick Google search. And this is not what's the word I'm looking for?
It's not sponsored or anything. We had
Yes.
somebody come in
Yeah.
here last year, 2 years ago, veteran with his service dog.
Yes. As a matter of fact, he was the head of that foundation, of that organization here in South Florida. And he came in and he had this big dog with him, and I looked at the dog and says, "Okay, this is different." And he was explaining,
dog.
and he was huge, but my God, well mannered, and he was the
Yes.
head of the foundation with the dogs. Absolutely,
Well, let's have him on.
we got to find him. I gotta tell you, one
Okay.
of the problems that we have with vets is that they know that their calling is essential, and then
Yes.
they get pulled in 500 different directions. For all I know, he might not even be in South Florida anymore. I don't know.
No.
He didn't come
Oh,
back.
well,
We have to go
it
chase
would
him. We
be
gotta
a
go find him.
right. It would be a great resource for our veterans and people. Well, if he does for veterans and other people in the community, civilians, that would be a great resource for them. But service dogs are expensive, and it's hard to get them. So you need all these other community services. I have a friend who does service dog training as well. So it's a long process because it can take about, I think it's like a year or a year and a half, depending on the dog, to train them
Yeah.
to be your service dogs. So, and it's expensive.
And you have to find the right dog, and then he's got to
Yep.
interview you, the person
Yep.
training the dog, to make sure that your needs are being met with the dog he's bringing. And it's interesting. It's a multiple interview process because it takes a year and a half for the dog. You may have changed in a year and a half. So sometimes you're ready to get the dog, and something else has happened to you in your disability, and they got to put the dog back in training. It's.
Yep.
I got a friend of mine in California that did it. I said, I don't know how you do this. This is craziness because it was constantly changing on him.
And it kills me because here comes my opinion, that people put a vest on dogs that says they're a service dog, and you can tell right away they are not a service dog.
Correct.
Service dogs are well mannered. They don't react, and they listen to their handler.
True.
So these dogs, and they have special vests for the dogs that are being trained, right? But you can tell that these dogs are not service dogs. And it kills me because they're putting a bad rap on the true service dogs that have been trained by professionals that serve a purpose. So, anyways, okay, I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, I think there's a
So-
difference between emotional support animals and service animals.
There is.
There's like a fine line, I think, of that.
No, actually, there's not.
Okay.
So, emotional support dogs. I don't know if there's any training. I have not seen
don't think
any
so.
training for emotional support
I don't think
dogs.
so.
There's no training.
No. Okay. So there is training for service dogs. Now, people so I was in the airline industry for a brief time, and people want to bring their pets on the airplane. So they call them emotional support pets, right? Anything from birds to horses. There was a horse but that was a true emotional support animal. The horse, it was like a Shetland pony, like a miniature horse. And
How'd
but
you get him on a
they
plane?
They set in the bulkhead. So right there where the wall is, they would because there's more room in between the seat and the bulkhead that they would be right there against that bulkhead.
So you actually put the pony on the plane.
She didn't.
I didn't, but I've seen instances where that it was
That's
approved.
amazing.
Jennifer,
Yeah.
before we have to wrap up, how do people find you? And if
Yes.
there are businesses that are looking to connect with you to share their resources, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Perfect. It's beachjammedia@gmail.com. Excuse me. Two M's. Beachjammedia@gmail.com. And there's also, I keep forgetting, everything's backwards.
That's your
There's your
code.
swag store.
And is swag store. Here's the QR code for the swag store. And we'll be putting more things up probably this coming week for that. But yes, anybody that's willing to sponsor, come on the show if you have a resource that you think will benefit veterans or the community. Shoot me an email,
And look who just walked
and
in.
I will.
Our veteran from the Korean War himself.
Mr. Vet. Russell Johnson, Mr. Vet.
But I will put those other resources that we didn't get to on in the comments on YouTube. So make sure you like and subscribe to this podcast.
All right. Part
Perfect.
2 next week. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
So thanks for being here. Again, you can reach us at beachjammedia@gmail.com. And if you have a resource that you think is beneficial for veterans that is not widely known, just send me an email. Until then, next week, we'll see you at the beach.
In the calm of early morning, when the day begins anew, we pause to reflect. May holds a special significance beyond just being another month. It is time for solemn remembrance, gratitude, and honoring those who've made tremendous sacrifice for our freedom. To all who served in the military across all branches and the National Guard, to the veterans, and to the families who support them through thick and thin, we express our heartfelt thanks. Your courage, sacrifice, and unwavering dedication inspired us deeply. As we commemorate Military Appreciation Month, we recognize the importance of standing by our newest recruits. Those brave individuals venturing into an unknown, responding to duties called with determination, deserve our utmost respect and guidance. Equally important is our commitment to support those actively serving in the Air Force, Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Marines, Space Force, and National Guard. Whether deployed abroad or stationed at home, they carry out their duties with honor and integrity. It is our responsibility to ensure they have the resources, care, and unwavering support necessary to fulfill their missions. So, as we observe Military Appreciation Month, let's unite in gratitude and solidarity. Let's honor the past, support the present, and inspire the future. To all who serve, have served, and those who stand beside them, we extend our deepest appreciation. Happy Military Appreciation Month.
Thank you for tuning in to Beach Jam Media with your host, Jennifer Corbin-Carson. We hope today's dive into hot topics and valuable resources left you feeling refreshed and inspired. Our mission is to keep you informed and engaged as we ride the waves of what washes up in life together. Until next time, stay curious, keep the conversation flowing, ask questions, and let the glisten of the shoreline guide your journey. Goodbye.